Yo, what's up everyone, and welcome back to another episode. I am back here in the flesh recording and making videos for you guys. So I want to thank everyone that's kind of been clicking on videos and all the new subscribers. I think it was about 7 new subscribers in the past 2 months, which is pretty cool. So thank you guys for doing that. Along with new content, I'll also be working on some changes to the channel. Going to be undergoing a name change and some updates to all the logos and stuff like that. So kind of keep that in mind when you guys are watching this video, and future videos, just be on the lookout for that. It's going to be pretty cool. But with that all out of the way, let's get into the topic of this video, which is going to be the Moon Knight trailer that debuted for Disney Plus. It's going to be coming in March 30th, which is pretty exciting. That's like right around the corner, basically, with how fast time flies. So I'm really excited for that. And of course, just a friendly reminder to you guys to always smash that like button. Go ahead and leave a comment on maybe your excitedness or your hesitation going forward with this series that has been announced and the trailer and stuff like that. And of course, if you guys are new here and you guys just clicked on this video, consider hitting that subscribe button, and then always turn on that notification bell so that way you guys don't miss these new videos that I'll be dropping. And with all that out of the way, we can get right into this breakdown. So Moon Knight, aka Mark Spector, aka Stephen Grant, and other various names, is an ex-mercenary who suffers from DID, or also known as dissociative identity disorder, and he becomes the vessel for Khonshu, the Egyptian moon god. And Khonshu's possession, essentially, of Mark Spector is actually the reason why he suffers from DID, because Khonshu being an entity with multiple aspects to himself and existing amongst, several forms of reality. So Khonshu himself has fragmented parts, much like Mark's own fragmented mind with DID, and that's kind of the result of Khonshu's possession. So that's pretty interesting, their kind of relationship they have. It's not really mutual. It seems more at Mark's own kind of mental suffering. But I mean, regardless of that, Moon Knight is still a very badass character, and even Kevin Feige has kind of commented that the mental illness is actually a unique aspect going into this character and also the series as a whole. So I think that's going to be a pretty cool thing to see and kind of represented on screen. And we do see that within the trailer. We do see him struggling to go to sleep, suffering from insomnia, calling a stay awake or sleep awake, something like that, hotline to kind of talk to somebody, because yeah, he can't sleep. He's going through all this stuff. He's also kind of chaining himself to his bed. Maybe he has night terrors as well, moving and losing points of time, like he's saying in this voiceover. And I think that is very true to the comics and very true to Mark himself as the character Moon Knight. So I'm very excited that they nailed that on the head, at least right off the bat. And it's also interesting to note that Mark is going by Stephen Grant, which is one of his other personalities, a more mild-mannered, calm version of himself. And I think that's straight out of the comics, which is awesome, and I'm very excited to see more of that and who else they kind of show, because he has various personalities. Mr. Knight, I'm looking at you. And also a notable thing about Moon Knight himself is that he's a more ground level superhero. He does deal with various supernatural beings and creatures and stuff like that, but at the same time he is often seen teaming up with Daredevil, Punisher, Spider-Man, Blade, characters like that are more working on the ground and operating there, rather than these big high stakes things like the Avengers would take on and other teams. And I do have a feeling that Blade will be popping up in some form in this series, as well as other creatures and characters that I'll kind of talk about in a little bit. But I do want to talk about Blade, because I think that they just have this obvious connection, along with Black Knight being teased at the end of the Eternals with the post-credit scene. Blade does appear to talk to Dane, and it was confirmed by Kevin Feige and also Chloe Zhao, the director of Eternals. So they are forming this kind of connection with Blade and this darker side of the MCU, and we are seeing that in full force with Doctor Strange 2, of course. So this is just kind of adding like icing to the cake, essentially. And I can't be more excited, as a horror fan and also a fan of the comic book movies. I think that's going to be a very good marrying of two genres. So yeah, really high hopes for this series. I think it's going to be up there with Daredevils for sure. And of course I think it goes without saying that Oscar Isaac himself is going to kill this role as Mark Spector, Moon Knight. I think he looks like he's fitting in the role nicely, and he's having a grand old time playing it. And Kevin Feige obviously loves Oscar Isaac, and I think that's very apparent. So I'm really excited to see what else we're not seeing with this trailer, because again, I mean, this is probably from like the first 10 minutes of episode 1, and maybe a little bit of like episode 2 or the end of episode 1. It's not the full 6 episodes. So I think that Marvel does a very good job about not showing a lot off. You know, we've seen that apparently with Spider-Man No Way Home. Obviously, a lot of other things were kept secret that, you know, not a lot of us knew about, other than the glaringly obvious stuff. So yeah, kudos to Marvel Studios and Kevin Feige for keeping that on lockdown for sure. And also within this trailer, we get our first look at Ethan Hawke's villain. He's playing Arthur Harrow, but he's believed to be an amalgamation of Sun King. Sun King is a pyrokinetic mutate who believes in Amun-Ra, and that's the god of sun. So that very much mirrors and is also like kind of a duality of Moon Knight and Khonshu, because Khonshu is the god of the moon, and that's where Moon Knight gets his powers from. So I think that's going to be very cool to see on screen if it does turn out to be true. I mean, he could very well be an original villain. He can also be sort of a combination of other characters to form another, you know, notable villain in the Moon Knight. The only other one that I really know is Bushman, but I don't think that this guy is going to be Bushman. I love Ethan Hawke, and I love the fact that he's going into this darker role, choosing, you know, with the black phone, which I did a video on, so make sure you guys watch that. And with this role as being confirmed as Moon Knight's villain within this series. And yeah, I just think it's a very exciting thing. He appears to have a cult-like following in this series. He does talk to Mark or Steven, whichever he knows him at that point, that he has chaos in him, and to unleash the chaos or to embrace the chaos, which is a very interesting choice of words. You know, chaos has been thrown around a lot since WandaVision with the chaos magic, and now with Doctor Strange 2 and all this stuff like that. You know, it could very well be connected in some form, or it's just, you know, the right choice of words to kind of get all our minds racing. And the trailer itself gives off massive Indiana Jones, The Mummy. Brendan Fraser's The Mummy, let me clarify that, not the Tom Cruise one. But definitely gives those action adventure vibes, especially with some of the setting and the car chases that they show, and, you know, in more outdoorsy locations. I think that's going to pay off very well, and I think it's going to bring a great addition to the more suspenseful tone that we're going to see initially, especially with, you know, a lot of the darker creatures that could be popping up, you know, and him fighting and taking on other than, you know, criminals and such like that, because I think we're going to get this dip into this side, like I said before. And we do get a mystery voice in the trailer calling on a phone that Mark finds along with the key. She calls him Mark, which he's confused because he's in this Stephen Grant personality. So he doesn't even realize what's going on. And that just shows the severity of the DID and just how it affects him and him losing his aspects of time. And I think if you notice in the other portions of the trailer, when he's in full action mode, he's definitely in the Mark Spector personality, his actual true identity. So I think it's going to be cool to see Oscar Isaac portray this. I mean, we already know he's a high caliber actor, so him to just kind of go into this is going to be super awesome to see. Think of like James McAvoy with what he did with Split. Other things to note is that the suit just looks great. I think that it does pay off in waves to choose to do these obviously CGI'd eyes, the white eyes, but I think it looks better than, say, like Deadpool's eyes. They're more glowy. It does show more of a power behind it, which I think is very exciting to see. The suit looking like a full-on mummy, you know, wrap and stuff like that, I think is very awesome. The hood is great, and of course the money shot of him beating the shit out of what seems to be an Anubis-like creature is just great. It's icing on the cake again, and, you know, it kind of would be in a way a dark humorous moment if it turned out to be that old lady that he confused Khonshu as. So yeah, you know, we did see Captain Marvel punch a lady in the face who turned out to be a Skrull, so it's not out of the question that we can't see a full beatdown of an older lady. So tackling this show is Jeremy Slater. He's actually the executive producer and head writer. He's going to be joined by a writer's team of 3. So, you know, there's that. And then the director of the first 4 episodes is actually going to be Mohamed Diab. I'm not familiar with his work. He's an Egyptian filmmaker, but it's worth noting that his directorial debut is considered the most award-winning contemporary film in Egyptian film, at least, or maybe even further than that. But that's just something that I kind of saw when I did a little bit of research. So there's that. And then tackling the last 2 episodes of this 6-episode series is going to be director duo Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead. Some of my favorite director duos. I think that they're phenomenal. They're mostly known with the cosmic horror realm. They did Resolution, Spring, the Bone Storm segment in VHS Viral, and The Endless. And of course they did the more kind of, I guess, more action-y, more adventure-paced Synchronic. It was less of a horror, but I still heard very good things. I haven't seen it myself yet, But they're a very good director duo, and they're tackling the last 2 episodes, and I hope to see more of them in the MCU. It's very interesting that Marvel and Kevin Feige even went to the route of them. They're more kind of indie, kind of do-it-yourself directors, and yeah, I think that's going to pay off in waves as well. I'm very excited to see the 3 directors, show what they got and really, put a different flavor in the MCU, because like I was kind of saying earlier, it does very much remind me of Daredevil and how that kind of shook things up with going just a little bit darker and a little bit more hardcore in terms of, the amount of beatdowns that we see happen to our hero and also to the hero's adversaries. And I think that's going to be a very, big plot device going into this show, is that we're going to see this more mature side, so to speak, less conventional, traditional movies and TV shows that the MCU has. And I think that's going to be cool, because we do need something like that. And, like I said earlier in the video, we are getting that with Doctor Strange 2. We got Blade confirmed, start off Phase 5. He's going to obviously be appearing already in a bunch of Phase 4 projects. He already appeared, as a voice, but still, nonetheless, Marshmellow recorded that. And that is, canon, and that's in the Eternals post-credit scene. So we're going to see a lot of this, and I think this is a very good way to also kind of go into that. It's a nice little path to get into that side. So that kind of wraps up a little bit of this trailer talk and kind of this breakdown behind what we got so far. And just a little bit of a background just for you guys that are unfamiliar, maybe just know Moon Knight from, the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games and such like that. And you also have quite a bit of time. March 30th, it's a bit far out, so you could definitely research. It's a great character in the Marvel universe, and it's going to be a great character to have in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and where that goes going forward, because he will cross over into the actual MCU films and probably be a part of a lineup in the near future. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and like I said, I'm back to the YouTube. I'm going to be working on a couple things, so keep that in mind. Thank you guys for all the continued support, especially with the last 2 months of not having any content out. I do appreciate the newcomers that came over those 2 months, and the people that watched, various videos, or, even if you didn't, or were just kind of checking on to see if anything was up. Thank you so much. That shows support. So keep that up. Keep hitting that like button. Keep commenting. And if you're new to the channel, of course, hit that subscribe button and then turn on that notification bell so that you guys never miss a new video. I'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace.